Hello, Tyler Barnes here. So, I don't know what to talk about. On the news, it's either riots or COVID, and I kind of want to do something that's um, not those two things, you know? But it's all I'm taking in right now. I, for one, uh, believe cops in their circles look down on rats, like rat cops. Um, that's my biggest problem with police, is that um, there's too much corruption. There's too much opportunity for cops to do the wrong thing and to protect themselves and each other. Like you know, you could go to a cop and with a serious problem, and of course they think about the paperwork, and and if there are any police involved in that problem, they wouldn't even think about the paperwork. At least that's what I understand. I think a reformation of the police is in order. One that really looks at ratting inside a police department, gives incentive, um, gives an incentive to weed out the bad cops. Because I don't believe there is. I believe it's the other way around. Um, in Minneapolis, they want to abolish the police altogether. Uh, Minneapolis is, from what I understand, is a pretty violent state, and there are a lot of criminals. And the crazy far left who just wants no police. I think police add to the problem because of the way they are. There's a thin blue line, and you don't want to cross it. What if there was incentive to? What if there were more good cops than bad cops that weren't? And what if they weren't afraid of the bad cops? What if they could rat? You know, when I grew up, it was like, don't rat, don't talk to the cops, they're not your friends, and like all this shit. And I never really got it. I mean, some of the crimes I've witnessed, if perpetrators were ratted on, it could save a lot of hurt. But because of the way I was raised and how I was raised to distrust the police, with good reason, I never did. Or if I did, it never went anywhere, which is part of the reason why I don't trust police. I think a reformation is definitely what should happen with all police stations. You know, rooting out the shit and getting rid of it, and supporting the good cops to do that. If you know, because I believe 90% of the cops out there are corrupt in one way or another, and that the 10% are just scared. And they get a bad name because police are police. But what if it was the other way around, you know? What if 90% of the police were good and they weren't corrupt? And they didn't have a problem with ratting on each other? Then wouldn't the system work a bit better? I don't know. I think it would. But there's the police have had a horrible history. The Mounties are, the way they treat Indigenous people is disgusting. In Canada, I'm assuming it's like how black people get treated by police. In New York, black males between the ages of 14 and 21 were targeted because they made up most of the criminals in New York. At least that's what was recorded. Out here, I'm still pissed off about Bushi, 16-year-old kid having some drinks in the back of a farm. The guy came out with a gun, Bushi ran, and he got shot in the back and killed. And nothing happened to the cop. I actually got in a fight with one of my friends who said that he had it coming. And I don't agree with that. All my native friends hate the cops. Hate them. And I can understand why. The chief who got beat outside the casino for the license plate about a week or two ago is another example of, you know, targeting a minority. They should be targeting the police. They should be figuring out which ones are shooting kids in the back or kneeling on people's necks, and they should be charged more so than your average criminal, because they're in a position of power and they're abusing it. There should be a charge that goes above and beyond for law enforcement, and instead of how they're treated now. When I was young, there was a buddy of mine who got abused by the police, and the cop just got relocated. And I think that's wrong. Hopefully this George Floyd thing really just looks at police. Maybe it's an opportunity for change so that the police can start getting charged for what they're doing. I mean, in England, police don't have guns. So there's like not very many criminals getting shot by police officers. But yeah, police are a problem. The Mounties have been, if you heard about, I forget, I think it's called the Starlight Tours. Starlight Tours out in Manitoba, where they take generally a native and they take them out into the middle of nowhere in the winter with no shoes, and they just let them out to walk home or whatever, and they generally die. If you look at the Highway of Tears, just look at the Highway of Tears, and I bet you police are involved in that. I have no doubt in my mind that police were involved with that. Some of them. And also Picton. I, I, I have a sneaking suspicion that police were involved with that too. Um, it's just, and it's a genocide. I'm not saying it's worse than it is in the States, but it's pretty bad. I'm sure there are places like the Highways of Tears in America. Um, but yeah, the Aboriginals out here got it really bad. Um, yeah, so we need some system in place so that you have someone to call when your house is getting broken into. Some system. Because, or everyone should have guns. But there has to be something, some way of policing the people. Like the Crips, I believe, were started as the Baby Cribs, which was like community watch. I believe that's a story. At least that's one of the documentaries I watched. And they would police the city because the cops were obviously going in there and causing shit and harassing people and probably selling drugs. I forgot where I was going with that. Yeah, there has to be a system. Community policing would work too if people weren't afraid to rat. See, there's a lot of fear, and you know, I'm probably gonna get in shit for this video if anyone watches it for saying that, for promoting snitching, but something's got to happen. And if we can't police ourselves because we're afraid to speak up about something, then we're fucked. But yeah, if it wasn't for this thin blue line, I'd have a lot more respect for police. And if it wasn't for the experiences I've had, I'd have a lot more respect for police. And if it wasn't for the atrocities done to my friends and all the stories you hear about, I'd have some respect for the police. But right now, as it stands, something's got to change. And it's got to change everywhere. Like, I'm in North Van, and crime's really low, and I don't have to worry about walking the street at night. But there's still shitty shit going on with the police. And in a city with like such a low crime rate, you wouldn't expect a kid you're growing up with to get abused by the police. You wouldn't expect that, but it happens. But I mean, abuse happens a lot. And people gotta speak up and rat and snitch. So, yeah, that's my solution. If the police start cleaning themselves up and weeding out all the shitty cops, I also have a lot more respect for them. I met 2 cops I like. And I've met a lot of cops. And one of them I just liked because, okay, yeah, one cop that I like. And he was the liaison officer at my high school. I actually spat in his face, and he didn't do anything. He treated me with respect. And yeah, I appreciated that. I don't know where he's at, or even if he's still alive, but if all cops were like that, everywhere, I wouldn't have a problem with them. So, an in-depth reformation of the police is in order. And that's all I got to say about that. Well, I love you all. Live long and prosper. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next video. Thank you.